Whether these deleted or scrapped moments simply added more depth and detail to one specific relationship in the galaxy far, far away, made a frightening sequence hit that little bit harder, or potentially could have even led to one of the most frustrating mysteries in Star Wars history being solved. It's safe to say these scenes would have all been better than the ones we got, or seriously improved the overall flick they're a part of. So I am Gareth, this is What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 more scrapped Star Wars scenes better than what we got. Number 10. Meet the Parents, Attack of the Clones. Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala's feelings for one another truly began to, blossom on Naboo during Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Painful dialogue, often quite wooden performances, and a real lack of chemistry between Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman all resulted in it being pretty tough to believe in the idea of these two figures genuinely falling in love. But had George Lucas opted to keep in a few additional Naboo moments in that prequel feature, perhaps the pair's forbidden romance would have been a little easier to stomach. Specifically, the deleted scenes that show Padme introducing Anakin to her family contain a few moments that add a bit more depth to this burgeoning love. Skywalker being visibly wounded by Amidala rejecting the idea of the two being a couple at the dinner table, the former Queen of Naboo struggling to convince her mother and sister the pair's relationship is strictly professional, and even Padme sharing other pieces of her past with her soon-to-be husband during these scenes would have certainly been fascinating additions to the overall Naboo sequence. And they also would have no doubt improved a clunky chapter of this love story that many wish they could erase from their poor minds. Number 9. Anakin kills Shaak Ti, Revenge of the Sith. Poor Shaak Ti, man. On top of being murdered by the vicious General Grievous during one ultimately deleted Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith scene, it turns out she was also cut down on screen in another scrapped moment from the prequel flick. However, while it was probably for the best that the aforementioned Grievous moment was erased from the Star Wars picture, this was the same scene that also contained Obi-Wan and Anakin finishing each other's sentences and having a dumb gesture chat. The Jedi Master's other deleted death could have made an already intense sequence even better, as a now Darth Vader struts through the Jedi Temple and proceeds to execute Order 66. There was actually a moment there when Anakin would have snuck up on Shaak Ti and brutally pierced her through the heart with his lightsaber, along with that unexpectedly savage killing of one of his former colleagues, highlighting just how far Skywalker had fallen in such a short space of time. The follow-up shot of the Chosen One walking through the temple as clone troopers took out the surrounding Jedi would have made for a seriously haunting visual too, and that's why it should have been left in. Now I've got a quick question for you. What do you think is the most shocking Star Wars moment of all time? Was it Order 66 or something else? You let me know down below. Number 8. Poe stitched up Finn's jacket, The Last Jedi. Not long after regaining consciousness in the wake of getting sliced up by Kylo Ren during the closing stages of Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Finn can be found walking around the Raddus in Poe's jacket in Episode 8, The Last Jedi. One thing fans spotted during the theatrical release of the feature, though, was the fact said item of clothing had seemingly been swiftly stitched back up in the somewhat short amount of time between Finn getting cut up by Ren's lightsaber and then. But one little deleted scene actually both provided the answers behind how said coat was fixed, and Finn and Poe with a rather sweet character moment. As revealed in the deleted scene titled Poe Not Much of a Sewer, after the Resistance fighter got the former Stormtrooper up to speed with what in the hell had occurred during his coma, Dameron noted how he actually did his best to repair the clothing in between trying to keep the fleet safe. Just like that, fans would have been treated to another lovely exchange that demonstrated how much Poe cared for the rebellious Finn, and the mystery surrounding who fixed that leather jacket would have been solved too. But again, this interesting 30 seconds of Star Wars was eventually deemed surplus to requirements, for some reason. Number 7. Yoda explains that Obi-Wan wanted to tell Luke the truth, Return of the Jedi. How do you make one of the stronger death scenes to pop up in the Star Wars universe better? Well, there was actually one additional piece of information that once sat in the middle of Master Yoda's final words to Luke Skywalker on Dagobah that would have certainly helped improve the perception of another powerful Jedi. Not long after Yoda's demise in Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, Master Obi-Wan Kenobi infamously revealed to Luke that what he told him about his father was actually true, from a certain point of view. In other words, I blatantly lied, but I convinced myself it was for the best and have arrogantly found a way to justify my actions now you've discovered the truth. What a guy. However, in an alternate version of Yoda's dying moments, the little green legend actually explains that Obi-Wan would have told Luke about Darth Vader being his father long ago, if the pointy-eared Jedi had let him. That one line would have unquestionably helped redeem Obi-Wan somewhat, with it being evident here that he didn't actually want to keep young Luke in the dark all these years, and was just reluctantly doing so to protect him. It doesn't change the fact that it still wasn't the wisest or most morally correct decision to lie to a lad for years, whilst training him up to strike down his own dad, but this scrapped version of Yoda's death at least made old Obi-Wan feel like less of a cold-hearted figure. Number 6. Finn can't shoot a villager, The Force Awakens. Back to the Stormtrooper who wanted to be anything but now, and to Finn's first few moments in the Star Wars franchise. Few will ever forget that instantly iconic visual of FN-2187 having his pale white helmet smeared with blood as the First Order attacked a village on Jakku early on in Episode 7 The Force Awakens. But there was also once another additional piece of footage that would have further reinforced just how much Finn was questioning his place within the villainous organization. Said deleted moment depicts the trooper, with that aforementioned red handprint on his helmet, turning his blaster on a helpless civilian during the chaos. As this poor woman fears for her life and stares deep into the soul of the panicking soldier, Finn can be seen slowly lowering his weapon, and accepting that what was happening here was unquestionably wrong. Admittedly, it's only a small moment, and Finn's change of heart is also clearly displayed elsewhere in the opening moments, but watching a Stormtrooper lock eyes with an enemy and decide against pulling the trigger would have still definitely been a seriously powerful way to start this new sequel trilogy. So it's a shame J.J. Abrams and co. couldn't find a way to squeeze the brief and pretty impactful scene into the finished article. Cheers for checking out this video today, folks, and if you like what you see, then tap that subscribe button down below. Number 5. Qui-Gon slices a probe, The Phantom Menace. After coming out on top in a deadly Star Wars pod race and winning his freedom, Anakin Skywalker joins Qui-Gon Jinn as the two make their way to the ship that will take them far, far away from Tatooine. Something that often goes overlooked, though, is the fact the pair go from wandering through the streets at a leisurely pace, as Anakin says goodbye to his mother in one scene, to running as fast as they can when the film picks back up with the two approaching the Royal Starship. In between those two moments, Darth Maul's probe droid informs the Sith Lord about where the two are, of course. However, what didn't quite make it into George Lucas's Episode 1 The Phantom Menace was a quick scene that would have actually shown one of these probes being sliced in two by the Jedi Master. Maul had sent out multiple droids to find his target, and watching one of them get obliterated by an awesome lightsaber swing would have both been undeniably awesome, and quickly explained why Jinn and Skywalker were seen sprinting to their transport. Qui-Gon quickly noted how the probe wasn't like anything he'd seen before, and told his young pal to leg it. Again, it's not the most spectacular scene you'll ever watch, but definitely adds a little more tension and makes their eventual running seem infinitely less odd. Number 4. A montage showing how Maz got Luke's lightsaber, The Force Awakens. Taking the top spot of most frustrating unsolved mystery to fall out of the sequel trilogy, Maz Kanata's decision to avoid the question of how she ended up possessing Luke Skywalker's iconic lightsaber in Episode 7 The Force Awakens has irritated Star Wars fans for a millennium, or at least a couple of years. Kanata would never get around to revealing this particular secret, of course, with J.J. Abrams just opting not to follow through with the big reveal even after returning to direct Episode 9. But as the director himself noted in the film's director's commentary, they did actually once have a sequence which completely explained how the legendary weapon ended up on Takodana in the original script. They just decided against using it as they felt it was a story that could be told later on. This montage would have detailed not only what had happened to the unmistakable weapon in the time since Luke's hand was sliced off, it would have also shown how Maz ultimately got her hands on it before stuffing it in a box within her castle. Sure would have beaten a good question for another time, wouldn't it? Number 3. Finn leads the Stormtrooper Rebellion, The Rise of Skywalker. It's generally agreed that Finn was depressingly underused in Episode 9 The Rise of Skywalker, with the former Stormtrooper largely taking a backseat to the likes of Rey and Kylo Ren in that final Star Wars Skywalker saga film. But before Colin Trevorrow eventually dropped out as that flick's director, there was actually plans for Finn to be front and center for what sounded like some of the coolest scenes of the entire trilogy. While Finn did still end up leading a number of defected First Order troopers into battle against the Final Order in Episode 9, Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates script would have really dived into the idea of a full Stormtrooper rebellion led by the hero. Leaked concept art showed off a brave Finn leading the charge as the likes of Poe Dameron and Rose Tico followed him into battle. And John Boyega himself also recalled being excited by the concept of AT-ATs with tribal marks and Stormtroopers taking off their helmets. Witnessing Finn lead an epic uprising on Coruscant, one that involved bringing together various civilians, droids, and defected Stormtroopers to bring down the enemy, would have definitely been sick, as Boyega himself put it, and likely a lot more satisfying for the average Star Wars fan than that whole Exegol mess. Number 2. Clones in Jedi Disguises, Revenge of the Sith. Now, it is worth mentioning right away that the complete version of this particular Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith deleted scene isn't by any means perfect, but the concept of a bunch of clone troopers attempting to deceive two legendary masters via the wearing of robes taken from gunned-down Jedi is definitely a compelling one. This intriguing moment would have gone down as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda made their way through the Jedi Temple after Order 66 had been put into effect. Kenobi and Yoda likely sensed something was up before they'd even got within a few feet of the fake Jedi, of course, but watching Anakin Skywalker's 501st Legion even trying to spring this pretty unsettling trap on the pair of beloved icons would have absolutely made the Master's arrival at the temple a more memorable moment. One element of this exchange that did deserve to be well and truly scrapped, however, was Kenobi's quip about the clones that had betrayed the entire order, making terrible Jedi. That one line seriously undermined what could have been a rather intense showdown, as Yoda and Kenobi proceeded to slice up the troops loyal to a fallen Skywalker. The rest of the fight survived the editing process, with the clones boasting their traditional armor as they were dispatched by the Jedi. But needless one-liner aside, that scene would have surely been improved with the inclusion of some disturbing disguises and a creepy trap beforehand. Number 1. Corellas Conversation with Leia, The Force Awakens. Remember this poor soul on Hosnian Prime seen staring up at the Starkiller base blast heading the planet's way during Episode 7, The Force Awakens? Well, her name is Corella, and you would have likely given a little more of a damn about the Resistance Commander's tragic demise in this Star Wars sequel flick had J.J. Abrams left in one quick and surprisingly important deleted moment. Said scene goes down within the Resistance's base, with General Leia Organa ordering Sella to head to the Senate, found on the aforementioned capital of the New Republic, and informed them, "I insist the Republic take action against the First Order." Sella's questioning of whether they would listen, and Leia's response of "Not all the senators think I'm insane, or maybe they do, I don't care," established that the latter had been made an outcast of the Senate, something that wasn't completely apparent during Episode 7. This hugely informative moment was scrapped due to Abrams and co. wanting to save Leia's big reveal for Takodana later on instead. But had they still found a way to squeeze this brief 20-second exchange into the runtime, viewers would have both understood how the Republic and Senate viewed the icon at this point in time, and cared that bit more about the destruction caused by Starkiller Base too. What should have been, eh?